Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to see about the kidney, gross anatomy of kidney. So in this class, we are going to see about the location of kidney, external features of kidney, relations of kidney, coverings of kidney, internal features of kidney. Then we are going to see about blood supply, nerve supply, lymphatic drainage, and few clinical aspects also we are going to see now. Okay, so we'll go into the topic now. So you know, kidney, it is the major excretory organ in our body. It lies in the posterior abdominal wall. What you are seeing here is the anterior abdominal wall is removed. You are seeing the posterior abdominal wall. Over that you can see the kidney. Kidney, it is also called as ren or nephros. You can see this is bean shaped. So it's a bean shaped structure seen on either side of the posterior abdominal wall. Okay, on either side of the vertebra lies in the posterior abdominal wall. And the kidney, it lies behind the peritoneum. So it is also called as retroperitoneal organ. Okay, so it is the major excretory organ. It removes the waste products. Okay, waste products of protein metabolism, everything. Okay, it excretes the excess of urine. So it removes the waste products from the body. Okay. Now, where it is located? You already know it is located in the posterior abdominal wall. It lies opposite to the 12th rib. So, on either side of vertebral column, you can see over the 11th and 12th rib, you can see the kidney. So, it extends from T12 to L3 vertebra. It extends from T12 to L3 vertebra. And you can see, so here is the right kidney, this is the left kidney. Right kidney, it lies little bit lower compared to the left kidney. Okay, so it lies on either side of the vertebral column. Okay, so right kidney is lower compared to the left kidney. Now you know quadrants of abdomen, 9 quadrants are there. So in this quadrants, we have to know where the kidney is exactly located. So it lies in the epigastric region, hypochondriac region, lumbar region, and also in the umbilical region. Okay. Now we'll see about the features of the kidney. So you can see this is the kidney, bean-shaped structure. It has an upper pole, lower pole, anterior surface, posterior surface, lateral border and medial border. When you measure, it will be around 11 centimeter in length and 6 centimeter in breadth. The thickness of the kidney will be around 3 centimeter. Okay. When you measure the weight, it will be around 130 to 150 grams. 130 to 150 grams. Now we see the external features of the kidney. You can see this is the bean-shaped structure. It has 2 poles, upper pole, lower pole. It has 2 surfaces. What you are seeing here is the anterior surface. Behind that, posterior surface will be there. It has 2 borders. So this is the lateral border. This is the medial border. And in the medial border, you can see a fissure. That fissure is named as hilum. Through that hilum only, you can see the most important structures. It's passing and comes out. They are the renal artery, vein, and the pelvis of the ureter. Okay. So when you see the upper pole, it will be round. The lower pole will be pointed. Okay. So how to identify the side surface means by seeing the features. So upper pole will be rounded, lower pole will be pointed, anterior surface will be convex and posterior surface will be flat. In the medial border, there will be a hilum through that important structures are passing through. By seeing the structure, you can see, you can identify the side of the kidney, whether it's a right side kidney or left side kidney. Okay. Now, this right kidney, when you see the right kidney and left kidney, it lies on either side of the vertebral column, opposite to T12 to L3 vertebra. When you see the upper pole will be near to the vertebra, the lower pole will be away from the vertebra. So the upper pole will be around 2.5 centimeter from the vertebra. The lower pole will be around 7.5 centimeter from the vertebra. And when you see the hilum, it will be around 5 centimeter from the midline of the vertebra. Okay, so the upper pole is near to the vertebral column, lower pole is away from the vertebral column. And in the second picture, you can see a plane, that is the transpyloric plane. This you already know what is transpyloric plane, and it passes through which levels? You know, it passes through the lower border of L1 vertebra. Okay, when you see the transpyloric plane, it passes through upper part of hilum of right kidney and lower part of hilum of left kidney. You know the reason? The right kidney is little bit lower compared to the left kidney. That's why. Okay. So this is about the relation of the kidney with the vertebral column. Okay. Now we'll see the features of the hilum. What is seen in the hilum? So it is a deep fissure seen in the medial part of the kidney, medial border of the kidney. In that medial border, you can see a vein, a artery, and the renal pelvis. Vein will be seen anteriorly. The next structure will be the artery. The next structure will be the pelvis of the kidney. The pelvis of the kidney, it continues as the ureter. So the structures anterior to posterior structures are vein, artery, and pelvis of ureter. Okay, so this is more important. This also a feature to identify the site of the kidney. So vein will be first, the next structure will be the artery, then we have the pelvis of the ureter. Okay, now we'll see the relations of the kidney. So now you know the kidney lies in the posterior abdominal wall. So in posterior abdominal wall we have the muscles. You know the name of the muscles. Posterior abdominal wall, it's already taken. No? So in posterior abdominal wall, you already know we have the diaphragm. Then we have the muscles from medial to lateral. So vas major, quadratus lumborum, transversus abdominis. So these muscles are there. Okay, and you can see here some nerves and vessels. This nerve is the subcostal nerve. Sorry, this is this is subcostal. Here you can see iliohypogastric, ilioinguinal nerves. Here you can see the blood vessels. See, they are the subcostal vessels. Okay, so that will be seen posteriorly. Anteriorly, you can see in the upper pole for the both kidney, suprarenal gland will be there. So this is right side, no? So we have the right suprarenal gland. This is left side. So we have the left suprarenal gland. Now you can see the part of the duodenum here. Okay. Then we can see the small intestine, part of the jejunum. Here already colon it's removed. You can see the pancreas. It is related to the left kidney. And here we already removed the stomach, spleen. Okay. So just keep it in your mind. With that idea, we are going to discuss the relations of the kidney. Okay. Now we'll see the anterior relations. So anteriorly, see here, for this is right kidney, this is left kidney. For both kidney in the upper pole, we have the suprarenal gland. Okay. Then, so in right side only, liver will be done. Okay, liver, it is the major part of the liver, it is seen in the right side only. Left side, the liver is not extending up to the kidney. So in the right side alone, you can see the anterior part of the kidney is related to the liver. So you already see the duodenum, no? So the medial part of the kidney, it is related to duodenum. Then here, this part, it is related to colon and jejunum. So right kidney, it is related to suprarenal gland, right suprarenal gland, liver, duodenum, colon, jejunum. Now coming to the left side. Okay, are you following? No? So just see the picture. Okay, listen carefully. In the left side, we already know pancreas is there, spleen is there, stomach is there. Okay, so with that idea, we can discuss the relations here. In the left side, we have the suprarenal gland. We have a gastric area. That means stomach is related here. We have the splenic area. So spleen is related here. Then this is the relation of the pancreas. Then we have the colon and jejunum. So these are the relations anteriorly. Okay, now you understand no? For right kidney and left kidney, what are the anterior relations? So is it clear no? Now we'll move on to the posterior relations. Okay, so posteriorly you already know we have the muscles and nerves vessels. That we'll see now. Now you have to remember right kidney is a little bit lower compared to the left kidney. Okay, we already discussed this now. So right kidney is lower, left kidney it is little bit higher. Why the right kidney it is lower? Because yeah, it is we have the liver. Okay, we have the liver. Okay, so that's why it's little bit lower. Okay, so when you see here, this is the right kidney, this is the left kidney. So right kidney, the upper part of both kidney will be related to the, yeah, that is the diaphragm. Lower part will be related to three muscles. From medial to lateral, we have the psoas major, quadratus lumborum, and also transversus abdominis. Okay. Then see the ribs. Right kidney is related only to the 12th rib. Left kidney is related to 11th rib and 12th rib. The reason is right kidney is lower. So it's related only to the 12th rib. Okay. Then you can see some vessels and nerves. So above, from above, we have subcostal nerve and vessels. Then we have iliohypogastric nerve. Then we have ilioinguinal nerve. So these are the structures related to the kidney posteriorly. All are common except the ribs. Okay, except the ribs, except the ribs in right kidney, only 12th rib is related. In left kidney, 11th and 12th rib is related. The rest of the structures are same. Okay, because in posterior abdominal we have the common structures. So it is related to right kidney and left kidney. Okay, so now it's clear no? What we discussed up to the, we discussed the relations, anterior relations, posterior relations. Okay, now we'll move on to the next topic. That is the coverings of kidney. The kidney, it is covered by some layers. Okay, from by 4 layers. We have 4 layers. They are fibrous capsule. It's also called as true capsule. The next one is perirenal fat. Perirenal fat. The next one is renal fascia. It's also called as false capsule, also called as fascia gyrota. The outermost layer is the pararenal fat. So we have 4 layers: fibrous capsule, perirenal fat, renal fascia, pararenal fat. Okay, so we'll discuss with a picture. Now, this is the cut section of the posterior abdominal wall showing the kidney. So, this is the kidney. Okay, so you can see the yellow color, that is the kidney. See the covering. So, see the blue color. So, that is the first layer, that is the renal capsule. It's nothing but the condensation of extraperitoneal connective tissue. Okay. Now, the next layer, you can see the green color, that is the perirenal fat. So, within that fat, the kidney, it is well supported and it's like a cushion, it sits nicely. Okay, so we have the perirenal fat. Then, see the next layer, renal fascia. Okay, this is the renal fascia, it's also called as fascia gyrota. Okay, fascia gyrota. The fourth one is the pararenal fat. So this pink color is the pararenal fat. So 4 coverings are there. So that is renal capsule, perirenal fat, renal fascia, pararenal fat. Within that, we have to concentrate over the renal fascia. It's also called as fascia gyrota. This one we have to trace above, below, medially and laterally. Okay, now we'll see that one. See here, this is the posterior abdominal wall. Here you can see the kidney. Above that we have the suprarenal gland. Okay, so first this kidney covered by renal capsule. Then you can see perirenal fat. This green color is the renal fascia or fascia gyrota. When you trace this above, this encloses the suprarenal gland and it is attached to the diaphragm through a suspensory ligament. Okay, When you trace it below, they won't fuse, they are separate, they merged with the extraperitoneal connective tissue. Okay, so this is above and below. Tracings of the renal fascia we are discussing now. Okay, above it covers the suprarenal gland and it is attached to the diaphragmatic fascia through the suspensor ligament. Below these fascia it won't fuse, it just goes separately and it merges with the extraperitoneal connective tissue. Okay. Now, two things you have to know here. The anterior layer of this renal fascia, it is named as fascia of Tolt. The posterior layer, it is called as fascia Zuckerkandel. Okay, fascia Tolt, fascia Zuckerkandel. Okay, so these are MCQ questions for you. Anterior layer is also called as fascia Tolt. Posterior layer, it is also called as fascia Zuckerkandel. Now we have to trace it medially and laterally. So this green dotted line is the renal fascia. When you trace medially, the anterior layer that continues with the anterior layer of the renal fascia of the opposite side. The posterior layer, it covers the muscles, quadratus lumborum, psoas major, and it is attached to the vertebra. Okay, now we are tracing it medially. The anterior layer, it continues with the fascia of the opposite side. The posterior layer, it covers the muscles and it is attached to the vertebra. When you trace it laterally, this fascia, it continues with the fascia transversalis. Okay, now we trace no above, below, medially and laterally. Okay, so this is about the coverings of the kidney. Now we'll see the internal features of the kidney. When you cut the kidney, you can see the kidney like this. We have a kidney proper and renal sinus. See, when you cut the kidney, medially we have a space that is named as renal sinus. We have the rest of the part, it is named as kidney proper. This kidney proper, it is made up of a cortex and medulla. Okay, kidney proper, it is made up of cortex and medulla. Okay, well, up to this, is it okay for you? You are following, no? So, whatever we discussed is about the external features. Now we are discussing the internal feature. Okay, when you cut the internal feature, when you cut the kidney, macroscopically we can see through the eyes. Okay, macroscopically we can see medially a space that is named as renal sinus, and we have the kidney proper. This kidney proper that is consists of renal cortex and renal medulla. Okay, well, after this is it okay. Now we'll move on to the next slide. This kidney proper, it consists of cortex and medulla. No? This cortex, it consists of renal column. That's also called as column of Bertini. Renal medulla, it consists of renal pyramid. It's also called as pyramid of Montpellier. See, this is the kidney proper. It's made up of cortex and medulla. This cortex consists of renal columns. This renal column, it's also called as column of Bertini. This medulla, it consists of renal pyramid. This is also named as pyramid of Montpellier. Okay, we are going to see the pictures. Okay, now we have the renal sinus. In the renal sinus, we have renal pelvis, major and minor calyces, renal vessels, lymphatics, nerves. Everything will be there in the renal sinus. Okay, now we'll see this one. See here. So this is the outer cortex. This is the renal sinus. So this is the outer cortex. This is the pyramids in the medulla. This is the renal sinus. Okay, so you can see the cortex will be extending in between the pyramid. Okay, in between the pyramid, you can see the cortex extending. This is cortex, this is medulla. In the pyramid, you already know we have the renal pyramids. In between the pyramids, the extension of the renal cortex that is named as renal column or column of Bertini. So renal column or column of Bertini means it's the renal cortex that extends between the pyramids, two pyramids. That is called as renal column or column of Bertini. Now, one more thing we have to know. The pyramid, that is covered by a part of cortex, no? So that part of cortex and pyramid in together, they are called as renal lobe. So renal lobe means a pyramid along with the adjacent cortex, that is named as renal lobe. Okay. Now you can see renal sinus. So this is the renal sinus. In the renal sinus, you can see projections, conical projections of renal pyramid. That conical projections, they are named as renal papilla. Okay, from the renal papilla, this minor calyces starts. Minor calyces, they join and form the major calyces. This major calyces, they join and form the pelvis of the ureter. Okay, now we discussed the kidney proper and the renal sinus. In the kidney proper, we have the cortex and medulla. In the pyramid, in the medulla, we have the pyramids. Between the pyramid, we have the extension of the cortex, that is named as renal column or column of Bertini. Okay, the projections of the renal pyramid, they are called as renal papilla. From the papilla, the minor calyces start, they form the major calyces. Major calyces continues as the ureter. Then one more thing we have to know, the pyramid along with the adjacent cortex, that is named as renal lobe. So when you see within each pyramid and the cortex, what we have? So within that only we have the most important structure, that is the nephron. Sorry. Okay. That is the structural and functional unit of the kidney. Okay. So when you see here, you can see the glomerulus. You can see, you know the parts of that, no? So you have the glomerulus, convoluted tubules, okay, proximal convoluted tubule, loop of Henle, distal convoluted tubule, collecting duct. This is the collecting tubule that opens into the collecting duct. Collecting duct opens into the minor calyces. So within the pyramid, we have, in this picture, we have the loop of Henle. In the cortex, we have the glomerulus. Like this, we have so many the glomerulus and the convoluted tubule. It is completely packed within that. Okay. So the detail and all we are going to discuss again in the histology part. Okay. Now, we'll discuss about the blood supply. So the kidney, they are supplied by the renal artery. Renal artery, it is a branch of abdominal aorta. This is the abdominal aorta. You can see the branch that supplies the kidney. So that is the renal artery. So venous drainage, that is by the renal vein. So renal vein, it collects the blood from the kidney and it drains into the inferior vena cava. So this is about the blood supply of the kidney. Now we have some important things in the blood supply. When you see the artery, they divide into segmental branches. So within the kidney, we have segments. Because of the artery, we have the segments. So anteriorly, we have 4 segments. Posteriorly, we have 1 segment. So the renal artery gives rise to 5 segmental branches. 4 anteriorly seen, 1 posteriorly seen. So in this picture also, you can see 4 anterior branches, 1 posterior branch. So all this gets go to the segments. So apical, upper, middle, lower. Apical, upper, middle, lower segments. Posteriorly, we have the posterior segments. So this anterior and posterior, they are separated by a line that is named as Broddel's line. Okay. So you are following now. We are discussing about the blood supply. That renal artery gives 4 anterior branch and 1 posterior branch. Each branch, it goes to a particular segments. So we have 5 segments in the kidney: apical, upper, middle, lower, and posterior. Okay. Now what happens to this branches, segmental branches? So here you can see the segmental branch, it goes to a particular segment, no, that continues as lobar branch. Okay. This lobar branch, it passes in between the pyramid, that is named as interlobar artery. So in between the pyramid, we have the branch of the lobar artery that is named as interlobar artery. This interlobar artery, it gives a arch-like branch that is named as arcuate artery. Okay. This arcuate artery, it gives rise to interlobular artery. From the interlobular artery, glomerulus arises. Okay, now you got some idea, no? We'll discuss this in next slide. Now you see, this is the renal artery. It gives 5 segmental branches. The segmental branch, when it goes to the lobe, it's called as lobar artery. When it passes in between the pyramid, that is named as interlobar artery. This interlobar artery, it gives rise to arcuate arteries. This is the arcuate artery. From each arcuate artery, you can see the vessels, no, they are the interlobular arteries. Okay, here you can see again, this is interlobar artery, give rise to arcuate artery. This give rise to interlobular artery. From the interlobular artery, you can see the formation of the glomerulus. Okay, these round structures, they are the glomerulus, formation of glomerulus. Okay, ma'am? Now, so these things, they are called as renal circulation. How the blood circulates in the kidney. Okay, again, we know from the abdominal aorta, renal artery arises. It gives rise to 5 segmental arteries. Each segmental artery gives rise to lobar artery. Lobar artery, it gives rise to interlobar artery. Interlobar artery, it gives rise to arcuate artery. This arcuate artery, it gives rise to interlobular artery. From the interlobular artery, afferent arteriole arise. So this and all you already know. Okay. So afferent arteriole, they form the glomerulus. From the glomerulus, efferent arteriole arise. This efferent arteriole, it forms a fluxus over the tubules, that is named as peritubular fluxus. From the peritubular fluxus, the vein starts. Okay, so artery, it becomes vein. So from the peritubular fluxus, the interlobular vein starts. It becomes arcuate vein. In this picture, you can see. So these fluxus of vessels over the nephron is there, no? That is the peritubular fluxus. So from the peritubular fluxus, vein starts. Okay, so here also we have arcuate, interlobular vein, arcuate vein, interlobar vein. See, this is the arcuate vein and this is peritubular fluxus. Okay, here you can see this is interlobular vein. This drains into arcuate vein. This is the arcuate vein. Arcuate vein becomes interlobar vein. Interlobar vein, they join. So interlobar vein, here we can see interlobar vein. See this picture between the pyramid, that is named as interlobar vein. This becomes lobar vein. Lobar vein, they join and form the renal vein. Okay. So here you can see interlobar vein, they form the lobar vein. Lobar vein form the segmental vein. So we have 5 segmental veins. They drains into renal vein. Renal vein finally drains into inferior vena cava. So this is named as renal circulation. Okay, you understand this, no? Okay. Now we'll see about the lymphatic drainage of the kidney. This kidney, it drains into lateral aortic group of lymph nodes. So here you can see the abdominal aorta. Here you can see the lymph nodes. So they are named as lateral aortic nodes. So this drains into lateral aortic group of lymph nodes. Okay. Now supply. So kidney is supplied by the renal plexus. So it is under control of autonomic nervous system. Okay, you know autonomic nervous system, it consists of sympathetic fibers and parasympathetic fibers. So sympathetic fibers to supply the kidney, they arise from T10 to L1 segment. Parasympathetic fibers, they arise from the vagus nerve. So kidney, it is supplied by the renal plexus. They are formed by sympathetic and parasympathetic nerve fibers. Okay, ma'am. So up to this, is it okay? What we discussed up to this? We discussed the location, okay, external features of the kidney, internal features of the kidney. Within that, we discussed what are the structures seen in the kidney, like renal lobes. Okay, what is a renal lobe? What is pyramid? Okay. Then we discussed about the blood supply. So blood supply, within that we discussed about the renal circulation. Then we have discussed the lymphatic drainage, nerve supply, everything. Okay. So whenever we study, we have to apply this. Okay, what are its function? If it gets affected means what will be the results? What happens? Okay, what disease will happen? So that we are going to discuss as applied aspects in the kidney. So whenever a patient comes to you with edema, Okay, so first thing striking in our mind is it may be a disease related to the kidney. Okay, you should not miss that. So you can see edema. So you will be measuring the blood pressure. There may be hypertension. Okay, so normal pressure is 120 to 80. If it is high, means that is the hypertension. So the persons may have the hypertension. And when you do some investigations, when you check, there will be altered blood urea and creatinine levels. So when you do the blood investigation, there will be alteration in the urea creatinine levels will be seen. Okay, so these are the first and foremost symptoms you can see in the patients of renal disease. Okay, now we'll see some clinical conditions. Before that, we have to know what is renal angle, where to palpate the kidney. So the kidney lies between, so this is what you are seeing here is this muscle, that is erector spinae muscle. This is the 12th rib. So in between that, we have the lower pole of the kidney. Between the erector spinae and the 12th rib, we have an angle. That angle is called as renal angle. In that angle, we can palpate the lower pole of the kidney. Okay, this is the renal angle. Okay, so now we know where to palpate. Now we have to know what are the symptoms patient will have. Usually they will come with the complaints of renal pain. Okay, usually they will be in the loin. Okay, they will be transferred to the groin. So first they will have the pain in the loin, then they will be referred to the groin. So the reason is the nerve, the segments of the nerve, that is the T12 segment that supplies. Okay, so that is the subcostal and ilioinguinal, we already know. So in posterior abdominal wall, we have subcostal and ilioinguinal nerve. No? So mostly it will be stones. Okay, the renal stones, that is a common thing you can see. So that pain will be referred from the loin to groin. So when the patient's telling like this means you can, it's a differential diagnosis only. First differential diagnosis will be, it may be due to renal stone. Okay, so this is the common case you will see. Okay, now how to palpate the kidney? Now you know the renal angle, the location of the renal angle. Okay, now we have to palpate the kidney. So how to palpate means that is named as bimanual examination by two hands. So one hand you have to put under the posterior part of the abdomen, that is the loin here. The another hand you have to keep over the anterior abdominal wall. When you compress the anterior abdominal wall, you can feel the hitting of the lower pole in the fingers of this opposite hand. So that is named as bimanual examination. This is the way to examine the kidney. Okay, palpation of the kidney, that is named as bimanual examination. Okay, so you can able to understand, no? Is it clear, no? Next clinical condition we will see. The next one is perinephric abscess. Okay, nephric. So nephros, those terms are we are using for the kidney. Perinephric means it's superficial. Okay, peri, it's around. Abscess, you know, collection of a pus. Perinephric abscess means collection of pus within the renal fascia. You know the layers of the coverings of the kidney. No? So within the renal fascia, when you see the collection of pus, that is named as perinephric abscess. In this picture, you can see the for collection of the pus. Okay. So this is one clinical condition. The next one is named as nephroptosis. Nephroptosis. It's also called as floating kidney. Why the kidneys floats? In chronic debilitating disease, in anemia, in tuberculosis, malnutrition. Okay, in this case, what happens? The fat will be absorbed. It will be used. So, you know, the kidney is well protected by perinephric fat, no? If the fat is absorbed, it's debilitated means what happens? That support will be lost. So, the kidney will be comes down. Okay, so that condition is named as nephroptosis, floating kidney. What happens here means when the kidney comes down, the ureter, it's already here, no ureter, it will kink. Okay, so if it's kink means the urine flow, it won't be continuous. So there will be possibility of infection. Okay, so patient will be comes with the history of urinary tract infection. Okay, so the in chronic debilitating disease, this will be C, nephroptosis. Okay, you understand this now? Now we'll move on to the next clinical condition. The next one is polycystic kidney. Polycystic kidney. It is the autosomal dominant and recessive disorder. Autosomal dominant disease that is seen in the adult, autosomal recessive disease that is seen in the children. You can see multiple cysts seen in surface of the kidney. See, this is the normal kidney. Here you can see multiple cysts. So this condition is named as polycystic kidney. Okay, in embryology we are going to discuss the what is the reason for the polycystic kidney. So in the class we'll discuss this in detail. Just a condition we have that is named as polycystic kidney. Okay, we'll move on to the next one. Renal stones. How the renal stones formed? Mostly it is due to calcium oxalate. So mostly the formation of renal stones is due to the calcium oxalate. So the renal stones, it may be seen in the near the renal sinus within the pelvis of ureter. Okay, within the ureter. So it may pass through the ureter or it may seen in the urinary bladder also. So those persons will have pain and also urinary tract infection also will be there. Okay, so the pain will be very severe if it is in the ureter. Okay, so this is about the renal cell. This is the most common condition. Okay, the next one is renal vein entrapment syndrome. So what is renal vein entrapment syndrome? You can see in this picture, this is the inferior vena cava, this is the abdominal aorta. Here you can see superior mesenteric artery. So sometimes what happens, this renal vein, it will be caught in between the abdominal aorta and superior mesenteric artery. So what happens, this will compress the renal vein. So there will be poor venous drainage from the kidney. So that condition is named as renal vein entrapment syndrome. It's also called as nutcracker syndrome. Nutcracker syndrome. Okay. So this is one clinical condition. Then infection may lead on to inflammation. So the inflammation of the kidney, it is named as nephritis. Inflammation may be in the glomerulus or in the renal tubule or in the interstitial tissue. So that is named as nephritis. Okay. Then, so in acute renal failure, will give the dialysis. So it's not, if it's not subsided, continuously they need the dialysis means that is named as chronic renal failure. Okay, if it crossed all those stages means it will count as end stage renal disease. So in this condition, the kidney won't work properly and dialysis also it's not much effective means what we'll do, we'll transplant the kidney. Okay, that is named as renal transplantation. What we'll do in the renal transplantation, just we'll keep the kidneys in the same position. We are not going to disturb the damaged kidney. What we do, we keep the transplanted kidney into the iliac fossa and we'll connect the renal artery with the iliac artery and the pelvis of ureter will use here. This is the pelvis of ureter. Okay, we'll connect this with the urinary bladder. Okay, the rest of the things we'll keep aside. We are not going to disturb. Okay, just we connect this with the urinary bladder. Okay, so this is called as renal transplantation. Okay, so this is about the kidney. So what we discussed now, we have discussed the location of the kidney. So what is kidney? It's an excretory organ. So where it is located? It is lies in the posterior abdominal wall. It is a retroperitoneal structure. It is a bean-shaped structure. You can see. Okay, so it has upper pole, lower pole, lateral border, medial border, anterior surface, and posterior surface. Okay, so upper pole will be near to the vertebral column, lower pole will be away, and also the right kidney is lower compared to the left kidney, the location. The structures related to the kidney we discussed in detail. What are the structures related anteriorly and posteriorly also we discussed. Okay, then we discussed about the blood supply, nerve supply, lymphatic drainage, and also few clinical conditions also we discussed. Okay, so this is about the kidney. Any doubts in this kidney? Thank you. So no doubts. So we'll end this class. Thank you so much.